RoadRUNNER viewers, Tom Roderick here. Today I've got the 2025 Yamaha R9 in front of me. We are at Sonoma Raceway in Northern California, previous Infineon Raceway, and before that Sears Point. I hate to be all giddy at press launches, but what a fantastic bike. I hadn't been here since this place was named Sears Point, so it was basically a brand new racetrack to me. But once I got up to speed, I mean, this thing is just so user-friendly. Just amazing. It's light on its feet for transitions, stable under hard braking. The engine, phenomenal. What can I say about the engine? I have loved this bike since it came out as the FZ09, years ago, and then they changed that to the MT09. And here we are with a full-fared, basically super sport version with that 3-cylinder engine. So throttle control on the motorcycle is fantastic. You say, well, especially if I'm riding, in fourth gear, you're coming out of the carousel, going through the corner, and you can just really get on the throttle without any concern about what's going to happen as far as the motorcycle goes, getting crazy. And what's going to help in that regard is all the technologies. This isn't an R1, but it still comes outfitted with pretty much all the same technologies the R1 has. Traction control, slide control, rear wheel mitigation, you name it, it's got it. All this stuff is accessible, through the TFT display up front. They had ours set in 3 different track modes. There was like track 3, track 2, track 1, and of course those were all outfitted differently with how much power you were getting and so on and so forth. I started in track 3, went to track 2, went to track 1, and it was a noticeable difference. When I got to track 1 with the #1 power setting, wow, this thing would blast out of the corner so much harder. What I thought was really neat is it does have engine braking control. So you can set that higher so you're getting less engine braking, which is something I prefer. I like more of a, say, 2-stroke feel when you're coming into a corner, so you're using more of your brakes instead of engine braking to get you stopped. The suspension package on the R9, you've got a KYB fork up front, fully adjustable. You've got a KYB shock on the rear, fully adjustable. Haven't really made too many suspension changes this morning so far. They tell me this is pretty much just kind of in the stock setting that you would get it off the showroom floor. And I mean, that just kind of goes to show that it's kind of a ready package right out of the dealership. It's nice that it's adjustable because you can fine tune it to where you want to be if you're a big track day guy. They are trying to push that, this isn't, just a race bike. I would agree, we haven't ridden it on the street, which is too bad. Hopefully maybe we can get a street component in sometime. I could see this being a pretty comfortable bike. You have adjustable foot pegs. These are in the low setting right now. I did not touch down a foot peg today. The clip-ons are below the triple clamp, but it still didn't seem like too much of a severe lean forward. I think you've got a nice rider triangle where you're sitting into the bike, kind of GSXR style. So when you are hard on the brakes, you're delivering more of this kind of just into the front of the bike and not up over it. The back seat back here, and it is kind of a big, say large area. There's a small storage space for maybe a smartphone under there. You would think it would make a nice backstop, but I mean, you would be completely stretched out to get your butt against here, I think. It would need some kind of padding to keep you more up, onto the fuel tank. About $12,500 for this. So, I mean, it's in a price range that's affordable. I mean, your R1s are, what, $18,000, $19,000? So, this brings something back into more attainable, I think, for the average rider, but doesn't necessarily get away. You're going to give up some performance, but again, that's extreme performance, and I don't know how many guys like myself are really looking for that. I want something that's fast, fun, comfortable, I can take on the street, I can take on the track, and I think this bike, kind of delivers all that. I guess I would closely compare it to the GSX 8R that came out a year ago. It's a little bit more expensive than that bike, and I think it's a little bit better packaged, that bike. I think you have a little bit better suspension components. You have definitely more engine than that one. I still like the way that had, a nice mid-range grunt also, but this just delivers more of it. It's, like I said, I think it's a really fantastic bike. It's going to make a good all-around motorcycle. Again, for either if you're riding on the street, you're not going to be like, oh my God, this is, kind of over the top crazy. And if you want to go to the track, it's something that's going to perform, pretty darn well in the state it's in. Yamaha, of course, is going to come out with a bunch of accessories. They're going to be racing this in Moto America, so there's going to be, a lot of performance parts available from the aftermarket. Look for that. But yeah, for right now, I think I'm going to call this quits, and I'm going to go hit the track. Thanks for watching.